Alrighty, as you can tell, we're up in the shop and we're about to work on the GMT 800 truck. We gotta check the brakes and check the oil. But of course I wanted to check in on Project Super Jank here. Haven't had a whole lot of time to work on the old girl. She still hasn't been starting. Had to actually cable winch her into the shop bay itself. But here's an interesting DIY hot tip for you guys that have older trucks. And now maybe some of you younger guys, especially if you're interested in getting into a classic or older truck, would need to know. Us older guys, we remember these days, but I'm not sure if you younger guys may even know that this resource exists. And it is probably the most important resource you will ever need for an old or classic truck. Let me show you. That's right. The good old Haynes Repair Manual. Oh boy. Oh boy, does this book bring back big memories. I remember that this was the only way we ever knew how to fix a vehicle, was an old school repair manual book like this. And I found it in a pile of parts over here, and I'm so glad I saved it. I've saved every single Haynes manual from any vehicle I've ever worked on. Ever. Everything from Fords to Peugeot to GMC and Chevrolet. And it is a great resource. Yes, you young guys, you have the internet. But here's a common thing that I've been noticing with the internet in terms of older vehicles. There does tend to be a lot of good information out there and different DIY tips and alternate tricks that we didn't know about back in the day necessarily. And of course, it's so much easier to share that information over the internet than it is in publishing a book. However, the older your truck gets, the harder and harder it will actually be to find good information about how to fix it and how to troubleshoot it. Which is why I bring up my Truck Stuff channel, because, well, I have one, so I might as well show you guys how to fix and repair and diagnose it. Not just that, but I want to show you guys everything I've ever learned throughout the entire process that can help you out as well. If you can find yourself a Haynes Repair Manual from the era of your vehicle, it is a fantastic resource, because on the internet, there's not a lot of good information sometimes. There's a lot of crap out there too. And especially the older your vehicle gets, the less likely there's going to be new stuff brought out about it. Not just that, but when you're looking for stuff, over time it tends to get buried. Yes, stuff never disappears off the internet necessarily, but it does over time get buried. And it can be hard to sort through all that crap to actually find what you really need and what you really look for. Again, another reason why I started this channel in the first place. But with your Haynes Repair Manual, well, the beauty is you can see exactly and jump exactly to the thing that you need to know exactly, per the manufacturer, per OEM, how to actually take things apart, put things back together, the tools you need, and troubleshooting ideas to at least point you in the right direction so you know even where to look should you go seek an additional resource. And that's what we're going to be using right now for Super Jank. We changed the coil and we changed the cap and rotor system of our distributor. It should start. We're getting fuel, you could smell it, but maybe there's another sensor that's involved that may have burned out as well. So this manual right here will at least give us some ideas of where to look at next. In fact, you might even say the way the Haynes Manual is written was a huge inspiration for how I present the channel. That very same philosophy of showing you the tools you need and the procedure from start to finish. So let's take a peek and see what we can find. All right, so here we are with our magic Haynes Manual. Let's check it out. So I kind of played around a little bit ahead of time here, getting myself reintroduced with this book and finding out where everything is located. Of course, you have your general table of contents here, which gives you kind of the general idea of where stuff is if you want to look at a specific system. Like, for example, engines, tune-up, routine maintenance, etc., etc. However, there is a very neat section here called the troubleshooting section. What's neat about this is just go ahead and read. Check that out. And key among which, for us, specifically for Project Super Jank, is engine rotates, but will not start, which is one of our key problems here. It does rotate, but it is not starting. Engine stalling, because it did technically stall out. And starts but stops immediately, which did happen very early on. So there's a couple of things that could give us some clues as to what we need to look at next. Then, as I was following along and kind of digging along here, I dog-eared some sections, chief among which here is, of course, the electrical system. Of course, this covers a couple of different iterations of the OBS truck. It covers your TBIs, which are your older OBS truck, which is going to be like your 80s to early 90s. It covers your SFIs, and it's going to cover your MPFIs, which is kind of what we have here in Super Jank. The TBI is going to be your older model. That's going to be your kind of mid to late 80s, early 90s. That's your throttle body injection system. Think of it as kind of like a carburetor, but without a carburetor. It's essentially a single injector, which fuel into the throttle body and sucks it in, and it goes wherever it's going to go, and hallelujah, you got injection. But it also means that it's an integrated system with the ignition. So the ignition is going to be different than just a normal carburetor, and it's going to have sensors and timers and everything else. Then, of course, you have your SFI, which is your more high performance, and like your Corvettes, for example. That's going to be your sequential fuel injection system, which is going to have again, an integrated and different style of ignition and timing system. And of course, you have what we have in good old Super Jank here, which is your MPFI, which is your multi-point fuel injection. Now, what that is instead of having individual lines with individual termini of injectors, you have kind of a central spider. And you can think of it as almost like a carburetor, but it's not really. It's more like a centralized distribution center. And that goes off to all the different injectors and just injects the fuel as needed per timing, which gives you more efficiency in your Vortec engine. And of course, you have the Vortec heads and all other things combined, but you also have a different integrated type of ignition system along with that. And that's the beauty of this book, is it covers all three. It covers your higher performance ones, which are going to be kind of in your later C4s and your earlier C5 Corvettes. And of course, your TBIs, which is going to be in your late 80s to early 90s trucks. And then, of course, your mid 90s and up to almost 2000, while you still had the old school Vortec V8, the L series, not the LS series, which is what we have here. And that's the kind of ignition system that is incorporated into that MPI multi-point fuel injection system. And that's what's going to give us the information that we need to get Super Jank up and running again. And that's the beauty of the Haynes Manual, is it covers all three. For example, here, we can see that we have a very similar setup to ours. Then we have the older setup of the distributor. This is how the older ones look like for the TBIs, for example. And then, of course, we have our V6 variants. Believe it or not, the 4.3 liter V6 is structurally and functionally, and even factory-wise, the same architecture as the 5.7 350 V8. So that covers that as well. And of course, it covers our version, which is the newest and last iteration of this particular OBS setup before they transition over to the LS series of engines. This is still the L31 series, the very, very old school one. So this is going to provide us some extra clues. And while I was digging through here, I had found some curious things that may point to something that's going wrong, including the actual proper way of testing our ignition coil. Now, I had done this already in the dark night, and that video is coming up soon. Hopefully the lighting is not too bad. I had to do with spotlighting. Hopefully you guys can see what's going on. But we did in fact test it, and we found that the old one was dead. The new one does generate power, but we're not getting power coming out of the distributor to the spark plugs. So that's a curious thing. Now, one thing that this points out that's very, very helpful that I haven't found mentioned much online is ignition control module. Now, logically speaking, you would think that if the ignition control module is out, then you should not have any power generating from your coil here, from the actual capacitor part of the coil, the actual coil part of the coil. Yet we do with the new one. However, if this is defunct or something is going wrong with it, it might not be putting out the proper amperage. That's the key thing that this book will also tell you as well. So that is something to check. And now that is hiding under the actual intake over here, under where the resonator used to be, or your resonator will be if you're still running a stock intake, and it'll be right there by the throttle body itself. That is something that we need to track back to and check and make sure that all our wiring in the harness is good, first of all, because as you remember, I had some difficulty plugging it in correctly into the coil itself. So that could be something at fault, or it could also be the ignition control module itself that is at fault. In this particular setup here is showing you the TBI style, where the ignition control module is actually on the back of the distributor itself. Now ours is going to be much more like the 4.3 liter, which is going to be under the throttle body because that's where our cable actually goes off to. But there's something else that's very, very curious there. In place of having the ignition control module on the back of the actual distributor itself, ours, however, does have, under this cap and rotor here, towards the back of the engine, there is a kind of optical or magnetic sensor back there, which that does run to the ignition control module, which for us is going to be on the side of the throttle body, just like in the 4.3 liter. Now, because of that, that leads me to believe that there could be another sensor that's at fault. Because if we're generating power out of the ignition coil, it travels all the way down the control wire to where it plugs in into the distributor, into the cap and rotor. Yet we're not getting power outside of the cap and rotor to the terminus, i.e. the spark plugs. That leads us to believe that either A, something is messed up there, another sensor is potentially damaged or not functioning, which if that optical or magnetic sensor is not functioning, that could actually disrupt our timing sequence and the timing sequence of the ignition control module itself, which then could affect how much power our ignition coil itself actually generates. It's not just voltage, it's also amperage, and it has to generate a high amperage load. And if it's not getting the signal from the communication of the timing and not setting it off at the right time, well, you're not going to have ignition. Even if you have power coming out of there, it's not going to be the right kind of power, the right kind of amperage in order to generate a spark and fire it off. So how I figured this out is not just from the book, but also from looking at the engine itself. Under the cap here, remember there's a Lazy Susan that this thing sits on, that screws on top? Well, part of that Lazy Susan has a metallic skirt around the end of it, kind of facing down, so it's like a upside down kind of cup looking thing. Now within that cup looking thing, there are holes of different sizes actually cut, like windows cut onto that skirt. Where that skirt rotates in between of are two essentially magnets with a sensor on the back end of it. And as soon as those windows cross over, it allows a certain amount of magnetic field or optical. I don't think it's optical. I think it would be magnetic in this case. But it could be in some other systems an optical kind of sensor. But it allows amount of radiation energy to pass through and not be blocked by the skirt that tells it exactly where it is in its rotation, therefore its timing. And because those windows are cut to different sizes, it tells it by how much energy is allowed to pass through, where it is, and which one it is in terms of its timing marks to tell it which cylinder needs to be fired off. So even though it's all a centralized system, it still is controlled by timing sensors. So that could very well be something that went bad. Because when I took off the original cap and rotor, the old one, not only had the old one disintegrated, but because of that, it had generated a ton of dust and plastic debris inside of there. And that potentially could be clogging up those sensors or even damage the sensor altogether. So that's something we need to check out next. Then we also have to do a power test onto our ignition control module as well too, which on our truck is over here. And make sure that that's firing off correctly. Then we're going to have to double check once more to see the amperage that's coming out of our coil. It was late at night. I didn't have time to do that anymore, but we're going to do that next. That's going to be part of our diagnostic process. Then we always have to check the really stupid and annoying things that are so stupidly simple, so stupidly inexpensive, yet if you don't take care of it, it will literally hold you up. And that is something so stupidly simple as that central tab, perhaps, is not making contact with the central pole of the cap, which is fed from the coil itself. And if that's the case, well, no shit, Sherlock, you're not going to have spark jumping because there's no energy jumping through. So there's a couple of things we need to check. And that's going to be coming up next. But I wanted to give you guys a kind of rundown of some diagnostic stuff in a little bit more of a intellectual, academic way to help you guys at home with your own OBS or classic truck with either the TBI, SFI, or MPFI ignition and injection systems, which is what we have here in old Project Super Jank. And of course, I wanted to highlight the sheer utility of the Haynes Manual. This, you can find the information so much faster, and it tells you exactly where you need to go and where you need to check next. Way faster, way cleaner than ever doing it by the internet. In fact, I didn't even find half of that information on the internet at all. If it's somewhere, it's buried deep. So hopefully this video will help you guys out as well. Anyway, I gotta get back to fixing the GMT 800. Work starts again tomorrow. I got a lot more stuff to do, and we gotta edit this video just as well. So we got a lot of work to do. Anyway, we're gonna pack it away for now. Good thing I found this book. We're gonna keep it tight here at hand, make sure we don't lose it again, and we'll rejoin on our next Super Jank adventure.